Hi, 100% and Sparklers, Adamo here. I hope you're having a great week, and it's great to see you this Sunday. The leaders in your 100% and Sparklers have asked if I could read a story to you from the Bible. So we're going to do that this morning. The story we're looking at is about Joshua and the walls of Jericho. And I don't know if you can see, but me and Reuben, we've made the walls of Jericho here. This is Jericho. This is our fort and our castle, and we thought it would be nice to read the story. And I think it's pretty good. So why don't we go and sit inside the walls of Jericho and have a little read and see what happens in this amazing story in the Bible. Okay, just going to park you there. So I hope you're comfy. So this is about a warrior leader called Joshua. So if you haven't got this book, this Bible, why don't you just ask your mum and dad to get in contact, and we would love to get this as a present for you. But it says here in Joshua chapter 3 and 6, after Moses died, God gave his people a new leader. His name was Joshua, which means the Lord saves. Joshua was going to lead God's people to a special land God had promised to give them. By this time, God's people had been wandering around the desert for 40 years. So you can imagine how sick they were of anything yellow and tense and walking and being hot. Whew. I think I'd moan too. And how happy they were to reach the edge of the desert and to see their beautiful new home right there in front of them, all cool, green and lovely. There was only one problem: Jericho. Jericho was a city, but it wasn't any old city. It was a fortress, and it stopped anyone from getting into the land. The people looked at Jericho, at the big, great, scary walls all around it, and all the towering ramparts, at the heavy iron gates bolted shut, and at each other. And I think they were probably a bit scared. It does look like a big fortress, doesn't it? Can you see that? Wow. What would they do? No one knew, but God knew. God knew, and God told Joshua what to do. But Joshua must have looked surprised, because it was a very odd battle plan indeed, as we'll soon find out. Then God made his people a promise: I will always be with you. I will never leave you if you do what I say. Your lives in the new land will be happy, and everything will go well. So Joshua gathered his army together. They had their swords, spears and shields. They were ready to fight. But the plan wasn't about fighting. It was about trusting and doing what God said. Joshua's army went marching around the city day after day. They're too scared to fight, the people in Jericho said. I think they were teasing them. These soldiers up on the wall here, can you see them? I think they were probably teasing them, saying they're too scared. But they were wrong. They were wrong. God's people weren't scared. They were waiting for God to tell them what to do next. On the seventh day, God told his people to march around the city, not once, but 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And on the 7th day, God told his people to march around the city, but not once, 7 times. Then God told everyone to make as much noise as they possibly could. Has anyone told you to make as much noise as you possibly can? Well, imagine that noise and add 39,999 other people making that noise too, and then you get the idea: ear splintering. And as it turned out, stone splintering too, because the huge strong walls of Jericho just crumbled to the ground. Look at them, all crumbled to the ground as if they were made of sand. Jericho vanished in a great cloud of dust. So it was that God's people entered a new home, their new home. And they didn't have to fight to get in. They only had to walk. Joshua said, God has brought you safely here. Now will you do what he says? Everyone said, "We promise." Only God can make your hearts happy, Joshua said. So don't pray to pretend gods. No, never, they said, never. I'm afraid that they didn't keep their promise. They didn't do what God said. And many years later, just as God warned them, things would go badly for God's people. They would lose their home. Enemies would capture them and take them off as slaves, as God's people would scatter into many different lands. But God's plan was still working. One day he would give his people another leader, another great leader, and another home. But this home, no one could ever take from them. And I think the leader that they're talking about is Jesus. And the home that they're promising is heaven. And I can't wait to get there. Anyway, much love. Hope you enjoyed that story. Ciao for now. Bye.